Hello everyone. Welcome to Heritage Safety Training Center, Dubai. Thank you for joining this session on completing the IOSH Managing Safely Risk Assessment Project, a step-by-step guide. My name is Alwyn, and today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to complete the Practical Risk Assessment Project so you can confidently pass this important part of the IOSH Managing Safely qualification. As you know, to earn your full IOSH Managing Safely certificate, you must successfully complete 2 assessments. The first one is the Multiple Choice Knowledge Test and secondly, this Practical Risk Assessment Project. In this presentation, we'll cover what the project actually involves, the official rules and preparation steps, how to fill in every section of the IOSH Risk Assessment form clearly and precisely, a worked example, common mistakes to avoid, and final submission tips. By the end of this session, you'll have a clear roadmap to complete your project efficiently, usually in under 2 hours, and achieve a strong score on your first attempt. The examiner won't be familiar with your workplace, so clarity and realism are key. We'll focus on making your assessment easy for them to understand and mark highly. Let's begin with a quick overview of what the risk assessment project is all about. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is the IOSH Managing Safely Risk Assessment Project? To earn your full IOSH Managing Safely certificate, you need to pass 2 separate assessments. 1. The Multiple Choice Knowledge Exam, and 2. This Practical Risk Assessment Project. The project is your chance to show that you can apply what you've learned in a real workplace. You are required to carry out a simple risk assessment on 4 hazards in a real work area, ideally your own workplace. If you're not currently working, you can use any accessible workplace. The entire project should take no more than 2 hours in total. This includes walking around, observing, and filling in the official IOSH form. All projects are marked by independent examiners. The project is scored out of 38 marks, and the pass mark is 23. That's approximately 60%. So it's very achievable if you follow the structure carefully. The examiner will not know your workplace, so your description must be clear, precise, and realistic. Think of it as writing for someone who has never been there. In the official marking, 1 mark for the header details: name, date, work area, task. 9 marks per hazard row, X, 4 hazards equals 36 marks. 1 mark for the review date and signature at the bottom. In the rest of this presentation, I'll show you exactly how to secure those marks step by step. Before we dive into how to fill the form, let's cover the key rules and tips that will help you pass first time. First and most important, always use the official IOSH Risk Assessment form. You can download it from the IOSH website, or your training provider will send it to you. Open it with the latest version of Adobe Acrobat Reader. This avoids formatting problems when you save. Remember these golden rules. Be specific, precise, and realistic. The examiner has never seen your workplace, so vague descriptions will lose you marks. Do not copy examples from the internet or course materials word for word. Plagiarism can result in an automatic fail. Choose significant hazards, not trivial ones like hot coffee or a slightly untidy desk. Select exactly 4 hazards and try to make them from different categories where possible. For example, 1 slip trip, 1 manual handling, 1 electrical, 1 machinery. Show variety in the people who might be harmed and in the way they could be injured. Keep your language clear and concise. The form has character limits in many boxes. A very practical tip: ask a colleague who knows the workplace to read your completed form before you submit it. If they understand it easily, the examiner probably will too. Follow these simple rules, and you will avoid the most common reasons people lose marks or have to resubmit. Now that we know the rules, let's talk about how to prepare before you even open the form. Step 1. Choose a real workplace and a specific task. Your own workplace is best because you know it well. If you're not working at the moment, Any accessible place is fine. For example, your office, warehouse, workshop, or even a busy retail area. Step 2. Walk around the area and observe carefully. Look for hazards that are not adequately controlled. You only need 4 significant ones. Step 3. Select exactly 4 hazards, ideally from different categories. This shows good understanding. Good examples include slips and trips, for example, trailing cables, manual handling, electrical issues, machinery or working at height. Step 4. Use the official IOSH 5x5 risk matrix. Likelihood from 1, very unlikely, to 5, almost certain, and consequence from 1, negligible, to 5, fatal or multiple fatalities. The risk score is simply likelihood multiplied by consequence. Step 5. Keep the hierarchy of control in mind. When suggesting improvements, eliminate the hazard first, then substitute, engineer controls, administrative measures, and finally, PPE as a last resort. Prepare these things properly, and filling the form becomes much easier and quicker. Usually, the whole project takes less than 2 hours. Let's now look at the top section of the form, which is where you can pick up easy marks. The good news is that the top section of the IOSH Risk Assessment form gives you some of the easiest marks in the whole project, so make sure you don't lose them. This section usually carries 1 full mark, and it's straightforward if you fill it correctly. Here's exactly what you need to include. Name of assessor. Write your full name clearly, the same name you used on your course registration. Date and time. Put the actual date and time when you carried out the assessment and completed the form. Work area. Give a short but clear description. Include useful details such as size, location, and number of people. Example: ground floor warehouse, approximately 800 square meters, single level, with up to 40 employees and 10 visitors daily. Task being assessed. Be very specific about the activity you are looking at. Example: manual handling and stacking of boxes weighing 10 to 25 kilograms from delivery pallet to storage racking, or forklift truck operations in the loading bay area. The more precise and quantified your description, the better. Remember, the examiner has never seen your workplace, so help them picture it clearly. Get this section right, and you've already secured easy marks before you even start the main table. Let's now move on to the heart of the form, the main table with your 4 hazards. Now we come to the most important part of the form, the main table. This is where you can earn the majority of your marks. You must complete exactly 4 rows, 1 for each hazard you have chosen. Each row is divided into several columns, and the marks are distributed like this. What is the hazard? 1 mark. Who might be harmed? 1 mark. How might people be harmed? 1 mark. Existing risk control measures. 1 mark. Risk rating, current. 2 marks. Additional controls. 2 marks. New risk rating, residual. 2 marks. Action, monitored by whom, when. 1 mark. That adds up to roughly 9 to 10 marks per row, giving a maximum of around 36 to 40 marks from the table alone, plus the header and signature. The examiner will look at each row as a complete story. If 1 column is weak or vague, you can lose marks for the whole row. So every column matters. Your job is to show that you can. Identify a real hazard clearly. Evaluate the current risk properly. Suggest sensible additional controls using the hierarchy. Demonstrate that the risk has been reduced, and provide a realistic action plan. In the next few slides, I'll explain each column in detail with good and bad examples. Remember, be specific, realistic, and show clear risk reduction. That's the secret to scoring well. Let's look at the first and most critical column. What is the hazard? This column is worth 1 mark, but it's extremely important because if this column is weak or vague, you can lose marks on the entire row. The examiner wants to see a clear, specific description of the hazard, something with real potential to cause harm. Good examples: trailing electrical cables running across the main warehouse walkway from charging points to equipment. Manual handling of cardboard boxes weighing between 15 and 25 kilograms from floor level to shoulder height racking without mechanical aids. Bad examples. These usually score 0 for the whole row. Just electricity. Just slips, trips. Just manual handling. You must describe exactly what the hazard is and where it is. Don't be too general. A helpful tip: imagine you are describing the hazard to someone who has never visited the workplace. If they can picture it clearly from your words, you've written it well. Get this column right, and the rest of the row becomes much easier to complete. Let's now move to the next 2 columns. Who might be harmed and how they might be harmed. Moving on to the next 2 columns, which together are worth 2 marks. Who might be harmed? 1 mark. Here you need to list the groups of people who could be affected. Be realistic and, where possible, include numbers. Good example: warehouse operatives, up to 25 people per shift. Forklift drivers, 4. And visitors or contractors, up to 10 per day. Avoid writing the exact same list for every hazard. Vary it slightly across the 4 rows. This shows attention to detail. How might people be harmed? 1 mark. This column explains the realistic injuries or ill health that could result. Be specific about the type of harm. Good example: tripping over the cables could cause falls resulting in fractures, sprains, or head injuries if the person is carrying items at the time. Another example for manual handling: back strain or musculoskeletal disorders from repeated lifting, or crushed hands, jogged feet if a box is dropped. The key is to link the hazard directly to the possible injury. Don't be too vague, e.g. just injury, and don't exaggerate, e.g. death from a fall. Vary both the who and the how across your 4 hazards so the assessment feels realistic and thoughtful. These 2 columns help the examiner understand the real risk to people. Next, we'll look at existing controls and the current risk rating. Next, we have 2 important columns: existing risk control measures and current risk rating. Existing risk control measures, 1 mark. Be honest about what is already in place, even if it's not perfect. This shows the examiner you understand the current situation. Good example: warning signs posted at the entrance, some cables taped down in high traffic areas, and basic manual handling training provided during induction. Do not leave this blank or say none unless it really is true. Mention whatever controls exist, even if they are weak. Current risk rating, 2 marks. Here, you use the official IOSH 5x5 matrix. Likelihood, 1, very unlikely, to 5, almost certain. Consequence, 1, negligible, to 5, fatal or multiple fatalities. Risk score, likelihood multiplied by consequence. Example: likelihood 4 multiplied by consequence 4. 16. High risk. Choose realistic numbers that show the current risk is not trivial and needs improvement. If you rate the current risk too low, the examiner may question why you are suggesting additional controls. Be sure to show both the likelihood and consequence numbers and the final multiplied score. This column proves you can evaluate risk properly using the IOSH method. In the next slide, we'll see how to suggest additional controls that actually reduce that risk. Now we reach the column that carries 2 very important marks: additional controls. This is where you show the examiner that you understand how to reduce risk using the hierarchy of control. Always follow this order when suggesting improvements. Eliminate the hazard completely. Best option. Substitute it with something less dangerous. Engineering controls, e.g. guards, trunking, mechanical aids. Administrative controls, training, procedures, checks. 5. PPE, only as a last resort. You should suggest 2 to 4 practical and realistic additional controls. Good example for trailing cables. Install cable trunking or covers along the floor. Engineering control. Introduce daily housekeeping checks to ensure cables are properly stored. Administrative. Provide anti-slip footwear where appropriate. PPE, last resort. For manual handling. Provide additional pallet trucks and sack trolleys. Engineering. Run refresher manual handling training sessions. Administrative. Introduce a team lift policy for loads over 20 kg. Make sure your controls are feasible in your workplace and will actually reduce the risk. Vague statements like, "be more careful," or "improve safety" score very low. The examiner wants to see that you can apply the hierarchy correctly and propose sensible solutions, not just theory. In the next slide, we'll look at how to show the new residual risk rating after these controls. After suggesting additional controls, you must complete the last 2 columns. New risk rating, residual, and action. Monitored by whom? When? New risk rating, residual. Worth 2 marks. Reevaluate the risk after your additional controls have been applied. The score must be noticeably lower than the current risk. This proves your controls actually work. Example, original risk equals likelihood. 4 multiplied by consequence, 4 equals 16, high. After controls, likelihood 2 multiplied by consequence 3 equals 6, low or medium. Always show both the new likelihood and consequence numbers, plus the final multiplied score. Never leave the residual risk the same or higher. That will lose you marks. Action. Monitored by whom? When? Worth 1 mark. Provide a realistic specific action plan. Include who is responsible, e.g. warehouse supervisor. What needs to be done. By when? Give a sensible deadline. Who will monitor or check it, e.g. health safety manager during monthly inspection. Good example, warehouse supervisor to arrange installation of cable trunking by the end of next month. Action monitored by the health safety manager during the monthly safety inspection. This column shows you understand that risk reduction needs accountability and follow-up. With these columns complete, each row tells a clear story. Hazard, people, current risk, better controls, lower risk, clear action. Let's now look at a full worked example of one complete row. Let's bring everything together with a complete worked example of one row. This is based on a typical warehouse scenario. Please remember, do not copy this word for word. Use it only as a guide and adapt it to your own workplace. Here's how a strong row looks. Hazard, manual handling of cardboard boxes weighing 15 to 25 kg from ground level to shoulder height racking without mechanical aids. Who might be harmed? Warehouse operatives, up to 20 per shift, and occasional delivery drivers. How might people be harmed? Back strain or musculoskeletal disorders from repeated awkward lifting, or crushed hands and feet if a box slips and falls. Existing risk control measures. Basic manual handling training given during induction. A limited number of trolleys available but not always used. Current risk rating. Likelihood 4, multiplied by consequence. 4 equals 16, high risk. Additional controls. Provide 2 additional pallet trucks and sack trolleys. Engineering control. Deliver refresher manual handling training for all operatives. Administrative. Introduce a clear team lift policy for any load over 20 kg. Display weight limit signage on racking. New residual risk rating. Likelihood 2 multiplied by consequence. 3 equals 6, low to medium risk. Action. Monitored by whom? When? Warehouse supervisor to procure 2 extra trolleys by $30, April 2026. Refresher training to be completed by end of May 2026. Action monitored by the Health Safety Manager during quarterly safety inspections. Notice how this row is specific, shows clear risk reduction from 16 down to 6, follows the hierarchy of control, and includes a realistic action plan with names and dates. Use this structure for all 4 of your hazards, but make sure each one is different and matches your actual workplace. Now let's look at the common mistakes that can cost you marks. We've covered how to do it well. Now let's look at the common mistakes that cause people to lose marks or even fail the project. Here are the ones examiners see most often. 1. Vague hazards. Writing just electricity, slips, trips, or manual handling. This usually results in 0 marks for the entire row. 2. Copying the same list of people for every hazard. Vary the groups and numbers across your 4 rows. 3. No risk reduction shown. If your residual risk score stays the same or goes higher, you will lose the 2 marks for the new risk rating. 4. Choosing trivial hazards such as hot coffee, untidy desk, or using stairs. Pick significant real hazards that need improvement. Plagiarism. Copying examples from the internet or course materials word for word. This can lead to an automatic fail. Not using the 5x5 matrix correctly. Forgetting to show likelihood by consequence, or using unrealistic numbers. Weak or missing action plan. Vague statements like, "Be more careful," or no names, dates. Poor description of the work area and task in the header. The examiner needs clear context. Avoiding these mistakes is one of the easiest ways to secure a pass. Most people who follow the structure and stay specific pass on their first attempt. Let's now move to the final checks before submission. We've now covered the full structure. Before you submit your project, take a few minutes to do these final checks. They can easily make the difference between a pass and a resubmission. Quick checklist. You have exactly 4 hazards, ideally from different categories. Every hazard is described specifically, not vaguely. You have shown clear risk reduction in every row, residual score lower than current. The who and how lists vary across the 4 rows. All additional controls are realistic and follow the hierarchy. Action plans include names, sensible deadlines, and who will monitor. The header section is fully completed with work area and specific task. You have asked a colleague to read through it for clarity. Once you're happy, save the form as a PDF using Adobe Acrobat Reader. Submit it to your training provider on time, usually within 14 days of finishing the course. Late submissions can cause delays or extra fees. Most people who follow this structured approach and stay specific pass the project on their first attempt. You've got this. Let's finish with a quick thank you and any questions. Thank you for your attention today. We've covered everything you need to successfully complete the IOSH Managing Safely Risk Assessment project. The purpose and requirements, key rules and preparation, how to fill every section of the form correctly, a full worked example, common mistakes to avoid, and final checks before submission. By following this clear structure and staying specific and realistic, most participants achieve well above the 23-mark pass threshold on their first attempt. If you have any questions about the project, the form, choosing hazards for your workplace, or anything else we've discussed, please feel free to contact me on the details given on screen. I'm happy to help clarify any points or give feedback on your draft if you'd like. Once again, thank you for joining. Good luck with your IOSH Managing Safely qualification. You've got all the tools you need to succeed. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.